Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Fold and lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
Scotty Bonin here with you guys.
We are the
Blood Brothers.
And we have a couple special guests on the line with us today. I have Craig Ahrens, who is co-writer and producer of the Evil Down the Street, and David Espinosa, director and also co-writer of The Evil Down the Street. Welcome, guys.
Hello. How you doing?
Good.
Thank you.
Hey, we're all here. Yay.
Yes, we're all here.
We made it.
For those of you listening, we were experiencing some technical difficulties, but it seems to be working now. Well,
there you
cool.
go.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm just going to sort of jump in. I started asking a question before, and by God, I'm going to do it again.
Do it again.
So,
It sounds good to me.
yeah, you guys obviously have created this film basically together. Is this the first collaboration that you've had, or have you worked together on other things in the past?
First film together.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
How'd you guys come to meet and hook up and work on this?
Go ahead, David. Well,
I was waiting for my cue.
I put it
That's funny.
and said, single white old ass guy. Look, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, a friend of mine on another set, I was working on a different film, told me about Craig. Said, I got to meet this guy. I said, yeah, okay. Over a period of a year, finally we met each other over the phone, and we clicked. We just same crazy attitude about things. We both get up at the crack of dawn.
Uh-huh.
We work all the time, so we just clicked. We got together, and that was it. That's how we met. It was that crazy.
That's
I
great.
I couldn't explain it to anybody. If I tried, it just happened, and I think it was
awesome.
because we were supposed to meet.
We'll talk a little bit. I'll start with you first, David. Talk a little bit about sort of your history with the film industry, or even acting, and the horror genre in general, and how you got started in all this.
Well, I won't go back to grade school when I played one of the Three Blind Mice. I'll spare you that.
All right. You can spare us that.
Basically, I've been loving this crazy art forever, and I tried not to do it. I got involved in other things, and I won't go into that. But I've been doing this off and on for over 40 years. I studied at UCLA. I ended up in law school. We won't go into that.
Yeah.
But it's just something that happened. The horror genre, how I got into that, is really a matter of going back to meeting Craig. Because the first horror film I ever did was with Craig. Everything else I've done as an actor, I've always played a bad guy or a cop or something like that. And I meet Craig, and he's got this script. He could probably tell you more about the script than I, but he had this script, and we decided let's work on it together. And there you go. It kind of went like that. Craig, why don't you tell him about how you put your script together?
Well, yeah, and along those lines, guys, that when I first met David, I was introduced to him as an attorney. I had formed CRA back in 2013, and it's small. I mean, back then it was just me, and now it's essentially David and me. But I formed it to do short films, but the goal was always doing feature films and the film that we just shot. So I met David, as for legal counsel, and David's spot on when he said we just clicked, and same philosophies. And the course of the conversation, David told me that he's a graduate, UCLA School of Drama, a number of years ago. We'll leave that out, but a number of years ago. And he lives in the Bay Area. Well, because with us, we don't like taking mathematical tests of our ages, because in dog years, it's like 703. So we just stay totally away from ages. But he's in the Bay Area, and I live in Southern California. So the course of conversation, he says, he goes, I've written plays, written novels. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's an acting coach in the Bay Area, and going on and on. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that it was one of these stories. I'm just looking for legal counsel I can connect with. But in addition to that, it's all of this other added value. And I'm thinking, oh, thank you, baby Jesus. And so the course as we got to know each other, and David started going through the script and started doing a lot of rewrites. And you can only say thank you so many times before you say, look, man, you got to be co-writer on this thing, because it just had to be. It just had to be. And so he came on board as co-writer. And I said, there's a character in here I think would be well suited for you, Father Bob. He says, hey, that's great, and da-da-da. And it just kept building. And at the time, I was going to be the director of the film. So I asked David, I said, you want to co-direct this with me? He goes, hey, that's great. Then after a while, it was just ridiculous. I mean, here you have a guy with 40 years experience in this business. And I'm thinking, why is there anything with directing? I said, how do you feel just about directing this? Because my background for years, I was a mortgage banker. So I'm more P&Ls and cost driven. And so I could go more into the producing side of it. So it was just one of those things. By the grace of God, we met, and the more you started talking, just the better things fell into place. And the funny part about it, we did all of this, and the first time that we actually met in person was just before we started shooting Evil Down the Street. Wasn't it, David, like a day before? I mean, like the next day we started shooting, right?
Wow.
Yeah, we did it all over the phone. My daughter was always talking to me. She said, Dad, I can't believe you did this whole film over the phone. I heard you from the beginning. I go, well, I got a good partner. He's diligent. He works hard. We get up every morning. We talk to each other. We go through the rewrites, what we're going to do. We organize, and our whole gig is real simple. We organize,
Yeah.
and then we shoot the film.
Yeah. No, that's smart.
It's as simple as that.
Well, and Craig, I'm curious, Craig, like how you had obviously another life, another career before this. Was it something, sort of a pipe dream you always had in your head that you're like, someday I'm gonna make films, and is this, you just finally pulled the trigger and did it?
No. I mean, I my neighbor across the street could be on the phone with you right now. I mean, you probably would have been more efficient in this business. I was a banker for years and years and years. Look, don't get me wrong. I love movies and such. But to say, oh, someday in my life I could do that. No. But this was back in 2012. An actor friend of mine, and what I didn't know is that he had this acting academy. And at the gym, we were just talking, and he lives in Orange County too, and he invited me to his acting academy. I thought, all right, why not? He'll get me out to Orange County for an evening. And I went there, just watch actors do their thing. And the next day he called me and said, well, what do you think about this? I said, think about what? He goes, give it 90 days. And I thought, oh my gosh, absolutely not. Well, back then I was a single dad. I always told my kids, always be open to possibilities. In a closed off mind, you can't allow anything to seep in. So I thought, all right. And it was painful. I mean, there are actors that suck. I went to like an all-time high of like sucking like off the charts. It was bad. And I'm the poster story. I mean, I really mean this, that the poster story, anybody would look at me and say, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And I say, yeah, not only can you do it, you could probably go circles around me. And so that's how it started. And so I worked really hard as an actor. So, as like a one-trick pony, but, the trick worked well enough. Yeah. But I want a filmmaker because my skill set is business. And this going from Orange County to L.A. for an audition, round trip, that's easy 4 hours. It didn't make good sense. So I worked hard doing the short films. I really wanted to learn the craft, but the end game, once I committed to this business, was doing the feature films. But to wrap this all up, and what I'm so appreciative about, if my friend from the gym, who's been an actor for years and years and years, if that had not taken place, I would have missed all of this. I would not have had the pleasure of having David in my life. I would not be on this call right now. So I'm like the luckiest guy that I know, because just by saying, okay,
sure,
this is all came together, because
it's all meant to be. Yeah.
Well, it meant to be, because I never once ever in my life thought, oh, someday I'm going to introduce myself as a filmmaker. Not at all.
It just kind of happened.
I'm very blessed and fortunate. Oh, yeah, totally.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
That's now I'm curious then too. Why horror, or where was this an idea that had been brewing for a while, and or was it just something you came up with?
Well, I knew the story for a long time, and I always thought to myself, that would make kind of an interesting movie. The original title of the screenplay was The Family Down the Street, and then of course the conversation with David. I think David, politely, explained to me that sounds more like The Sound of Music, but and rightfully so. But because the story always struck me is that this could have been anybody. I mean, this is just a normal family. So the story I knew for a long period of time. And the reason why horror films is because for, let's say a modest amount of money, horror films, I mean, horror is a wide genre. And I had met with a company before we were shooting this, and they said, the genre you really want to go with is horror. And I said, well, I happen to have a story that, would make a lot of sense, because you can do it with good actors, good story. If it sounds good and looks good, you have a marketplace there. So that's the reason, kind of why. But I just really felt this story needed to get out there, and so that's the reason why. If there's another story, I don't know. Maybe David and I would have done a musical, but this was the story I just felt compelled to get out there. Well,
and
where did the story come from? Because it says based on true events.
Right here in Orange County, where I live.
Okay,
wow.
was this something? What did you know this person, or is it just sort of a story that goes around, or?
No, I'm very familiar with the family.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
So then after that, you just started kind of writing and putting things together, and just starting, typing it up. And
now, how much? Now, like David, how much did you come in and change the script, or was it very much collaborative? And I mean, was it pretty good to go right out of the box, or?
Well, when I read his story at the beginning, he had somebody else had stepped in for a moment and had worked on the script with Craig, and the script at that time had a lot of boogeymen, if you will.
Sure.
Okay, turning into cat-like creatures and stuff. And I X'd all that stuff. I thought that it didn't do itself justice. If the story is based on, something that really happened to somebody, and using horror as a genre, for me, that's the most horrific thing you can experience, is watching a family member go through what this person went through, and having to deal with that, and watching the change and the effect that it has on people. So terror, horror, psychological thriller, those words to me, they can be intertwined. So when I read his story, I thought that absent all the, the boogeyman stuff, that he had a good script. So I made some suggestions about changing some things, writing some segues, so that we have transitions into it. My training and background in writing and whatnot is a little different than Craig's. I actually got beat into adhering to some strict form and shit. My words, but you get the idea. The people I studied with were very strict about meeting certain formats, and there was a process to go through, asking yourself a question about a scene, no matter how much you liked the scene, how pretty it was. Did it advance plot, character, or theme, or all three, hopefully? If not, you strike the scene, period. So it was a brutal undertaking, and I went through it. and we cleaned it up, and then it became a very collaborative effort. I don't do much of anything without Craig looking at it. He doesn't do much of anything without me looking at it. And that's one of the very strong symbiotic factors in our relationship, why we work so well together, why we can do this over the phone. We just shot another film called The Crumbs, and we did that one over the phone as well.
Wow.
It's kind of bizarre. Yeah. But we work well that way. This film came about when he told me that it was based on true events, and he knew these people, and he knew the lady. That's what inspired me to want to make it as real as possible and keep as much of the phony Hollywood stuff out. There was another reason. We couldn't afford it anyway.
Yeah.
We didn't have a whole lot of money. So our goal was real simple. Make it the best film we could make for $40,000.
Yeah.
And
there you
get
go.
it in on time.
Sure.
And that's what we did. So for us, the pre-production process, the planning, making certain that the shoot schedule, the shots, everything, the process of the just organizing everything, that's what we focused on. And of course, casting the film, a nightmare, as you can imagine.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
We look at auditions, and after a while they get a little blurry, and then we found some good people. And ironically, the lead in this was someone that Craig thought looked like the person, the subject, and she happened to be a newbie actress. She really didn't have a lot of credits, but I knew she could do the part. I auditioned her, I put her through some changes, and she was able to come across. So we took a chance with her, and we think she did very well. Elena Gerard.
She's got a really good look. You know, you don't have to. She's not that she's not beautiful, because she's very beautiful, but then she also has this darker look to it. It seems easy for her to switch between just being the mom and being the possessed mom, just because of the look she has. You know?
Yeah, she can really switch that in a second, which is great. So you guys you held a casting process. You had casting calls. You sat down and you went through numerous people. And then you found the right ones. So that must have been a process.
Did you
for sure.
end up using? Do you know a lot of you probably do know a lot of actors as being a coach and everything, right, David? I mean, did you end up going to a known pool of friends or colleagues and using a couple of those?
I will invite anybody to audition, but they got to earn the role.
Sure.
We're real strict about that, and I've had students of mine. I teach acting. I'm a coach, and I've had students of mine who were in our films. As a matter of fact, Elena became a student of mine. I worked with her during that entire shoot. We stayed in the same Airbnb, so she was with me 24/7. When we weren't shooting and on set, I was going over her lines and her part with her, helping her to understand the process, sense memory, emotional recall, stuff like that. But she earned the part. We just shot The Crumbs, and likewise, I had some of my students, but they earned the part. Anton Clark, who plays one of the lead roles, big guy, 6'4", 5", 300 pounds, big guy. But he earned the part, and he just kicked it. It had an extreme emotional range. The character did, and he just killed it. Everybody did. We're extremely proud. But you're right about what you're suggesting. Casting is 90% of directing.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not my quote. That's Elia Kazan, a very famous director. That's from his book on directing.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I totally agree with that. So Craig and I would go through the auditions. He'd look at them. I'd look at them. We'd put them through. And after a while, we found the right people. So
yeah.
We were very blessed with that.
You definitely set up the perfect family there for sure.
Craig, how were you working with? You say you know the family this happened to. Were you constantly checking story with them or collaborating with them, or were you sort of you just sort of took the story in a couple times and then just took it from there?
Well, I've known the story a long time, so to have to, let's say, modern time consult with them, it really didn't make any sense. They were aware of let's say the overall direction of the story, and they were fine with that. I think that bringing David on board, early on, a long time ago with the rewrites, like he was saying, it really helped the structure, the flow of the story, because that's really what I had, was a story in script format. I've never taken a script writing class, and David had years of experience, so that is able to really put a nice bow on that. But we certainly had their blessings to go the direction we did, and I'm very proud of it. We didn't. You're not going to see a lot of CGI stuff when, like David said, we couldn't afford it, and that's just not this story. But we tried to serve it as best we could, and I feel we did.
Sure, yeah. And I'm also curious. I mean, you said you guys talked about getting this movie made, and on a not total shoestring budget, but on a budget. Is this something that was basically self-funded? Did you have a couple people come in willing to give some money towards it?
Yeah, it was totally self-funded, along with the crumbs.
Okay.
David and I, through, let's say, connections that we have, we just keep walking and talking.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we had good support with Evil Down the Street, and same for the crumbs that we shot last month and set to come out probably first of next year, January or February of next year.
Sure.
So, David and I like that, just mean and lean without a lot of moving parts. And, we all can think of filmmaker friends of ours, and bless their hearts. They're, bigger productions sometimes, and bigger money and bigger risk and this and that. And David and I, our goal is to do the best product that we can for, a decent amount, but by industry standards, a modest amount of money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And
If I may say something for clarification, you used the term self-funded, which implies that we fund our own films. And just for clarity, no, we are not. We're investor funded.
Okay.
CRA is sponsored by investors who come in and invest their monies into our film based on our prior performance. Initially, it was just based upon our business plan and our ability to put the organization together. And since then, it's been based upon our prior performance. So we've been very fortunate, and I will hand this to Craig, absolutely. His ability to interface with people in that capacity, bringing forth investors. I've brought some as well, but just the constant talking to people and having them view what we're doing, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So the marketing and the distribution of our film, and particularly the follow-up marketing that Craig's been doing, that's what's making our film successful. And we're in the number one slot over at the Amazon Prime, not to give ourselves a plug, but we are and have been for the last 3 going on 4 weeks since the beginning of May, with a 4-star rating average. So we feel very proud about that, and quite honestly, I didn't expect it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, you guys had a vision, you went with it, and you're promoting it right and doing this, and it's, I mean, the work shows for sure. So it's awesome.
Now to keep costs low and everything, is this the crew that you worked with, was that people that you had known, or did you have to pretty much just hire everyone from square one to come work on this thing?
Well, hiring them from square one, but David touched on earlier about the shooting schedule and everything in pre-production. And he gets really high marks for this, the amount of time he spends going over the scene grid and all of the pre-production to allow us, like on Evil Down the Street, is going to be an 18-day shoot, but we had it done in 17 days.
Oh, nice.
The Crumbs, we got it done in 13 days.
Wow.
So, we're just mean and lean and just knocking it out. But that's thanks to all the pre-production, specifically with David, the camera shots, all of these things. So when we show up, it's not like, I don't know, man. Why don't we try shooting from over here? That it's. I mean, there's some adjustments once you get to set, sure. But the template you already have well established, and he works very closely with the crew that they're all on the same page. So when day one starts, it's cameras are rolling.
Yeah,
that's great.
And do you, David, work with like a cinematographer that you normally have work or know or are comfortable with, and a couple crew members?
Well, fortunately for the Crumbs, I had the opportunity to work with some gentlemen I've worked with in the past. Cinematographer David Johnson. A lot of Davids. You got to watch this.
Yeah,
David Johnson. I worked with him before, and he was able to keep up. I'm kind of fast-paced when I'm working, and he was able to keep up with me. So I called on him, and we auditioned him as we do everybody. I sent his work, Craig, and he viewed it. And regardless of whether we know people or not, if I have an objection, we don't use them. If he has one, we don't use them. We both have to agree on what we're doing. So we were fortunate to have people we knew, and we got some new people as well. When we were down south, Craig knew some folks from down there who gave him some references of other people. So we vet everybody. We want to look at their work. It's not a matter of how many features you've done. It's also a matter of what your attitude is. We had some people we were going to hire, but their attitude just wasn't right. You got to be humble. You got to be willing to work hard, and you got to love the art within you as opposed to yourself within the art.
Sure.
And that's something that we try to promote. So we have new people who've never worked on a set.
Wow.
We've hired new people who just right off the street say, no, we're going to give you a break. We've done it with actors, done it with crew people, and then we've had people that have 20, 30 years experience.
Okay.
So it just depends. Attitude for us is everything, and then the rest is, all right.
Yeah.
You're going to just be willing to work 12, 14-hour days. If you're willing to do that shit, you're our guy.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah. So when you guys were writing this too, did you already know that you were both going to be in this movie, or were you like, okay, so you'd be great as Father Bob, and Craig, you'd be great as Bill Lawford, or was that something that you already kind of predetermined, or was that something that like kind of happened after the casting?
Oh no, I cast him. I actually wanted him to play the lead.
Oh, really?
Yeah, straight up. And then, but he was too busy with the producing end of this. There was just too much work. No way. So we stuck him in as Bill Lawford because he, great attitude, and then we hooked him up with, as you see, Miss Romaglia. She was just so
Deborah.
Funny. The two of them, they just clicked.
Yeah,
I liked their
you guys were
their
great.
whole attitude.
Yeah. Penny, no. Well, you tell him. Yeah, that was great. You guys were like the bantering husband and wife, and that was really cool.
You talk too damn much.
Yeah, she's like.
That was his ad lib. That was his ad lib. Yeah, that wasn't even in the script. He just threw that in.
Well,
it worked.
And you know what it was? I'm glad David said that. I'm listening to her talk there on the driveway. And I'm going, oh my gosh, it goes on and on and on. So I'm walking away. That's what I said. You talk too damn much. And then for her, she goes, I said, don't you piss me as we go walking across the street. But it was kind of just struck me. I thought, wow, you're just talking and talking and talking, and you're just boring my sorry self.
I'm glad you kept
But
it
that's
in.
what makes it fun.
Yeah.
When you work with creative actors like that who take it to the next level, and they continue with the character, right through the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely. Craig's in the next one too, as well. The Crumbs.
Oh, nice.
We wrote him in. I won't give away his character at all because it's critical to the movie and the story. But I think when you see it, you're going to be very, very amused with his character.
I can't wait to see it.
Did you plan to have yourself in there though, David, as the father?
Well, Craig told me about the pastor. It was actually Pastor Bob originally,
That's
and he
right.
was a short, stout, bald-headed guy with wired rim glasses. And I got the wired rims, but I'm not short and stout. And I said, well, that'll never do. And I look more like a Catholic than I do a pastor or a minister. So I made him Father Bob and turned him into a bit of a drunk.
I like that. I like.
He's got issues,
Yeah,
He's got issues,
you're like
man.
doing push-ups, and you get a call. You got that cross tattoo in your back, and yeah, you're kind of a badass, you know.
That's funny.
That's,
Well, he comes from rough beginnings. His backstory was rather involved, and he's been chasing this devil here for a while.
yeah.
You can see the reason. The reason for the alcohol was I don't know if people got it. Is the devil, the chasing of the devil within us. Father Bob's got him as well, and so did Katie. And that's the whole thing with the alcohol, because no other character really slammed any alcohol but those two.
I was
A
kind of
lot of
wondering
people may
that.
not pick up on that.
Yeah,
What's
no,
that?
I caught it. It was like she
I did
has
catch
that.
that.
She has that drink every single time, and that's one of the telling factors that she's not herself.
She's going over edge. She's something's going on. Yeah, that's.
No.
And then you got the lead, Kelton Jones, that plays Michael. Did he? Obviously, he came and auditioned. I thought he was awesome. I thought he did a really good job too.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, he came by way of Craig. Yeah,
Okay.
Craig knew him and recommended him. So, Craig, you could probably tell him more about Kelton than I.
Well, and it's kind of embarrassing because I do know Kelton. And the light bulb just didn't go off on my head like, I should reach out to Kelton. And we already had, notices posted on Actors Access and what else, David? Casting about, anyhow, several of the platforms out there. And I was contacted by Kelton saying, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to submit, for your film. And I told him, I said, oh my gosh, man, I'm sorry that I didn't even think about you, because he would have been a good fit.
Yeah.
So he submitted his audition tape like everybody else's, and he crushed it. He just did a really, really good job. And so it's in the end it worked out. But I've known Kelton for quite a while, and as you saw me, just a terrific actor.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. Well, yeah, you guys definitely did good there too. Seems like I've seen him or something, but maybe he just he has like that familiar.
You say that
face.
about every single person.
Yeah, yeah. But
I just as a side note here, talking about your acting, Craig. Scotty was telling me he was looking on IMDb that you were in Adrenochrome by Trevor Sims. Is that
yes?
Does that sound familiar? Because we interviewed Trevor about that film over a year ago, and it's a nice little psychedelic ride. And I was just connecting the dots and thought that was interesting.
you played Gary, so we must have seen you in it. You played Gary in it, and it was definitely.
How did that happen? Was that just something you auditioned for? Or?
Well, it was strange because my acting coach, I'll say acting coach, because Lewis is who, early on in our conversation here today, was a person who invited me into acting. And so, and Trevor knows Lewis, and they needed an actor for this one character. And so, just serendipitously, it just fell into my lap. And so that's how I met Trevor. I never had to audition for it. It was just kind of presented itself to me. And this was, oh gosh, I don't know, 2014, 15. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun project. Tom Sizemore is in it. It was fun.
That's cool.
It was definitely interesting. I mean, it was a fun ride, but it was definitely a crazy fun movie.
Yeah, it's a different film.
Well said.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Well, cool. I just had to ask about that real quick. How long have you had the production company? It's CRE, right?
Yeah, CRA.
CRA. Okay.
CRA. Sorry.
The tail end of 2013 is when it was formed.
Okay.
December 2013.
And did you do a lot of short films then before this?
Yeah, I think by count, I don't know, maybe a half dozen being involved with.
Okay.
Over that span of time. leading up to what David and I shot last year. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously you have one, the Crumbs that you just finished shooting, but it's being edited now, right?
Yes, post-production right now.
Okay. And then do you have something else on the horizon after that?
Well, I think that would fall under Mr. Espinosa's category here.
As a matter of fact, we do have a couple of projects that we've already have written scripts for that we're deciding which ones, and it's kind of a strange decision factor, and the factor is real simple: how well this film's doing, The Evil Down the Street, and looking at what is beyond the Crumbs. The film, The Crumbs, that we just completed, as far as shooting it, we think has a lot of possibilities. So we're kind of juggling a couple of scripts, but we definitely are going to stay in the horror genre. Nice. For a couple of good reasons. We think that I'm not a blood and guts guy, so I don't necessarily write chopped films. But I like to write something that that is more possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're big fans of
some other things. In other words,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because I think if you deal with what you can relate to, what's real. I mean, what's next door to you? And that's where the Evil Down the Street's concept comes from. It's any block, every block. Who lives down the street from you? Yeah. Do you really know who that is? Mm-hmm. A horrible event in my wife's family. Her cousin, unfortunately, was raped and murdered many years ago. This is a true story, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And it was done by their neighbor. The gentleman knew who they were. The mothers were friends. And she accepted a ride. She was like in 8th grade. She accepted a ride to school one day by him. And it was years later, he got caught for another thing through DNA that they put the two together. So you don't know who you live next door at times. And not to cause panic or freak people out, but more on the realistic side, know your neighbor.
Yeah.
Talk to the people next door. Get to know who each other are. That kind of thing. So the horror, and for me, the psychological terror. In my life, I've done a lot of crazy stuff in my life. I mean, I've hiked into volcanoes. I've done some crazy things, and it's always the fear that is the challenge.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
not the thing. It's the fear. Yeah, getting over the fear. Mm-hmm. You know, as a kid, I loved watching Frankenstein and Wolfman. I mean, it scared the crap out of me, literally. I mean, the movies were. I just loved scaring myself. But the first time I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when it first came out, the movie I stood up and I yelled. I mean, I'm the type of person that I get real involved. I'm there. I'm the vicarious believer.
Yeah. No,
and it affected me. And I'm like, oh my God.
That
actually happened.
Still affect me too.
Yeah, the genre lends itself to that. You're able to get those reactions easier, more so than I think in any other genre. So.
Exactly right. It's like riding that roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the very first time, when you go down that Big Dipper hill, and it's scaring the crap out of you, and you're loving it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Why do we do that?
I don't even know why. And Danny and I are really big horror fans too. We love all types of horror, but there's something about the psychological horror, paranormal that you have to think about that's possible.
Well, I think
that's even more freakier.
I think that possession, the quote unquote possession genre of horror, some people don't like it, but it's honestly my favorite, and it creeps me out the most because to me. And not to everyone, but to me, that's like sort of possible. It's like could happen.
And if it's scary as hell, one of the shots in The Evil Down the Street that was really freaky is when Michael's going down in the basement, that's been there, and the house is built on top of it, and he's looking for Katie, and he hears his breathing and stuff, and then he looks back, and then you just see the camera point of view of just her legs there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, what's above those legs? What's she look like right now? I mean, it was just like, just a shot, just that shot, and like, oh my gosh,
That
she's gonna
probably
do
was.
something.
I agree. That was probably the creepiest shot of the film, in my opinion.
And then, he's stuck down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stuck down there. There's nowhere for him to go, but up the stairs.
Was that one? Was that in your mind a shot you really wanted in there, David?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as I saw that stairwell and I saw I could shoot it from behind the stairwell as well, I could get his POV up there, seeing the legs first, and as he looks at it, and then I thought I could go behind the stairwell and I could shoot it from that, looking at him, seeing that.
Yeah, that was.
I just loved the optics on it. I said, okay, we got to do this both ways, guys. This is what I want. And creep up on the knife. Don't reveal the knife immediately. Creep up on it a little bit. And I know I could have easily played this where she starts to try to stick him and make it that, and go a psycho type of route on that. But that's not always how it happens.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with people who are addicts or alcoholics, or they're losing it. They reach a stupor, if you will, and a state of a conscious unconsciousness, and that's what was happening to her. And she had that knife there, and he's talking to her. And I kept telling him, I said, look, Kelton, when you're right here, you love her. Every time you say her name, you're saying, I love you. I love you. Mm-hmm. And so he got it. I said, you don't demand her, soothe her, comfort her, and she'll put the knife down.
Yeah.
Because that's all she really needed was love.
Yeah,
totally.
And speaking of that basement and everything, I do have I want to talk about the location for a minute. Was that was the basement actually part of that house?
No, it was in Banning, California. Craig found that for us 100 miles away from the house.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it did look a lot older and more historical, for sure.
Creepier.
Well, yeah, the
it was
for a lot of reasons just wasn't available, and so like in Orange County, it's like, where are we going to find a basement now? I mean, they're rare. I mean, it goes back years and years ago when you might find a dwelling like that. So, yeah, we shot that out first 3 days in Banning under David's tutelage.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, in a old rundown reform school out in the desert.
Oh,
okay,
geez.
in this old house. That was the place was creepy. I'm not kidding you. The place was creepy. The other part, we have sounds that were recorded, and maybe one day we can share those with you. We have sounds that were recorded that came out of nowhere, sounding like somebody banging on things. Jeez. It was disturbing the walls. I mean, it was pretty creepy place.
Makes you get into character.
We spent 4 days shooting there, from 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. And it was still snow on the ground. We froze our butt off down there.
Jeez.
And I have to give it hands down to Elena. She got down there in that little red teddy.
Yeah. She was like wearing no
goosebump on her. Not one goosebump.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah.
Where was the main house? Where was that located?
South Orange County, down near where I live.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Was that like a friend's house, or did you just find it on a rental thing?
Yeah, the latter. We were able to secure that on a rental basis.
Okay,
that was nice. It's cool how you guys transitioned the basement to that house. I mean, obviously you shot all the basement stuff first while you were on location, and then you did all the house stuff. I'm assuming, but it was cool, like in the story how the story, there was an original house built on top of the basement, but then that was torn down, and then you got the new addition built on top of the old basement. So that really was that. Like, I kept thinking about that in my head. I'm like, oh, you got the new house, but then the old creepy basement. It's such a cool idea, So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for.
Yeah. I have just a few more things I was curious about. I guess you now. When did you finish the film exactly? I guess what I should ask is, did post take a while? How long were you guys in post for?
Yeah, we shot it March of 2018, and we were in post. Oh gosh, David, how long? We better part, the 2018,
8
right?
months.
Yeah, probably 8
Yeah,
months.
8 months.
8 months. So it took a little bit longer than expected, but you have to call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to post, I was doing a lot of micromanagement. I don't know how to really say it. And so a lot of it had to do with me, not necessarily in a bad way, but our guys in post-production were terrific. I mean, they worked really well with our personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, some of that was, I have to say was on me. But I like to think the results kind of speak for themselves. But our
absolutely. If it wasn't for the time that Craig put into that tedious time, it would not be the film it is, because there's 3 areas. There's the film itself, the story, then there's the directing, and then there's the acting and the editing. If the editing, I don't care how good the film is, if the editing is terrible, you got a bad film.
Yeah.
Tombstone is one of the classic examples of a film I love that died in the editing room. Val Kilmer film, you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, great cowboy film, but they ruined that film in editing. There's some of the most egregious editing errors in that film that just tore the story apart, disjointed the plot. I mean, it was terrible. But it doesn't matter. So what Craig did was he fine-toothed everything that our editors and our Foley people were doing. So he spent meticulous time going through it. So it was time well spent.
Yeah. No, that's great. And
Yeah.
sorry, Craig, if you had more to add.
No, that was fine. David's right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's good.
Now, obviously,
Glad you agreed with me on that.
now obviously we can view this on Amazon Prime. All you guys listening can watch it on Amazon Prime. I guess if you can or talk about it a little bit once it was finished. I mean, did you guys think about doing festivals, or were you like, let's just get this thing on Amazon as fast as possible, or did you seek out other distribution at all?
Oh yeah, November last year, I went to AFM, and I had a 4-day pass, and I met with, and I kid you not, 78 possible distributors for our film. I mean, I hit it hard, but I started engaging with them April of 2018, right after we shot it. So a number of them, they were expecting to see me, but we didn't have the screener link ready until after first of the year, so that took a little bit longer. But David and I were very blessed. We had 9 offers on our film, and it came down to 2 of the 9 that we really liked, and ultimately Indie Rights. And the festival route, here's the thing. I'm just not a big festival guy. And you can, and David and David and I discussed this, and and I'm cool with it. Like I told David, I said, a lot of filmmaker friends of mine, they'll go the festival route with the idea of catching the eye of a distributor.
Yeah.
And I said, brother, fortunately, we have 9 offers on the table. I can think of filmmaker friends of mine, they're giddy with excitement with one, but we were very, very fortunate. We were very blessed. So with that being said, I didn't see this big thing of let's go to festivals, and we discussed it. And then Indie Rights just made sense for so many reasons. And in the back of my mind, if they would have suggested to us, well, you guys need to go to the following festivals, well, we would have done so.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to get it out there, and I don't mean to go, terribly lengthy in my answer for you, but
no problem.
I just didn't really see, or we didn't really see a significant need. And again, once we secured the deal with Indie Rights, they didn't say, "No, you got to go the festival route." No, their whole thing was get us the deliverables, and we want to get it out there. And Amazon being the first platform, will be available on other platforms too in due time.
Yeah.
That just happens to be the first one.
Okay. Okay. Are you guys doing any physical copies at all eventually?
You know,
You can buy physical copies now.
Can you?
Yeah, right on through Amazon. You can buy physical copies. But we've not started the total process yet for ourselves to do it. We are going to talk to our distributor about that.
Sure. I was just curious. That's all. But no, that's interesting then.
And,
Well,
yeah.
and also along those lines, David and I have discussed it, that it just seems like people any longer, they're retaining content in a digital format, meaning they don't really want or need the physical copy of it.
It's true.
So it's beginning to kind of go by way of the dinosaur slightly. So, last thing we want are, hundreds of these copies and giving them away as stocking stuffers for the holiday season. And it would have been cool to be some stores for bragging rights, like, oh, you can buy us at Walmart. But again, the whole.
I already have some CDs for that for that, Craig. So
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. But our, the whole thing with indie rights, and let's say our plan was largely digital. But like David said, we're always open to anything, but the market has really gone at a high digital content.
Sure. No, interesting. Well, so obviously we can all see it on Amazon Prime right now, and most anyone has that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I mean, gosh, guys, I think that's all I was curious about. I don't know, Scotty, did you have a couple more?
No, I think that about wraps it up. I mean, I thought it was a very well done movie. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I love the psychological, thrillers that you like think about. The cast is great, and you guys should all go watch it. Yeah, go check it out. The Evil Down the Street on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more instructions for our listeners? Do you want them to keep up with you anywhere or anything like that?
Well, from a social media,
just be nice to us whenever you see us.
And I was just looking up your The Crumbs. I looked that up on IMDb too. So I see that's a horror thriller too. So definitely be on the lookout for that. The Crumbs.
Yeah.
right on.
Great.
Cool, guys. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having us, guys.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.